ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the May 14th meeting of the Palm Springs Planning Commission. Report of posting of agenda, please, Mr. Evans.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The agenda was posted here at City Hall in accordance with state and local procedures, and you can tell I've been running this morning.
We're all running here. Thank you. We have minutes for your consideration. Let's look at them one at a time. First, we have March 26th, and I note, Ms. Morantz, that you were absent that meeting, so we'll show
That's
you as an
correct.
abstention. Are there any additions or corrections?
I'd move approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Caffrey, second by Mr. Schoenberger.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
it does mean, oh, never mind, I understand. I think they meant to put it, when it mentioned the approval of the minutes, I think I was not there at that,
Right.
so,
Was that accurate? Were you there?
no? 26th of March, I was not here.
Okay. So I'm showing you as abstaining on this particular.
That's
side.
correct.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with one abstention. Next, we have the minutes for April 9th. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move approval?
Second.
Motion by Ms. Morantz, second by Mr. Schoenberger. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We now have the minutes for April 23rd. Any additions or corrections? A motion for approval?
I make a motion to approve them.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Schoenberger, second by Mr. Caffrey. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On the minutes for April 30th, that's the one where we had a limited quorum because it was a special meeting concerning the convention center, and we don't have a quorum to consider that
You're right.
yet. I think we need, Mr. Matthews is scheduled to be here later, so why don't we just put that at the foot of the calendar, and maybe we can attend to that later. All right, the next item on the agenda is public comments. Anybody wishing to address the commission on planning issues on the City of Palm Springs may come forward and do so at this time. If you are here on an agenda item, we would prefer that you hold your comments until that time. If you would rather speak now, please feel free to do so.
Hello,
Good afternoon. If you'd give us your name and sign the clipboard before you leave, please.
I'm Cheryl Hamlin. I live at 565 West Santa Rosa Drive, and I'm here to speak on the Estrella Inn, which comes later on in this meeting. I wanted to call your attention to a letter which we delivered to the staff and to all the planning commissioners earlier this week, summarizing the meeting we had with the Estrella Inn. Last week, we met with neighbors, with the city staff, and with people from the Estrella Inn. They presented two proposals, one based on some concepts I believe that were given to them by the city, and another one was their concept. And after the meeting evolved, it was very clear that the proposal presented by the Estrella Inn was the preferred proposal. And I just want to make a note of a few points here that we would like to see, because we understand the Estrella has resubmitted but have not had the opportunity to see the proposal. Move the garbage enclosure to the Bellardo side of the property. Although this may result in the loss of 1 or 2 parking spaces, that is acceptable. Require all deliveries to be made on Bellardo. Parking spaces and ramp drives, which are concrete, shall be multicolor stained and broken into small paving shapes to have desert feeling. The Korakia Hotel's use of asphalt and stone is a good model. The gutter should not be white concrete, but should be colored the same as the parking, with a 2-foot swale to demark the right-of-way. Soft edge landscaping without curbs will allow water runoff to be absorbed by the soil. The use of rocks as borders can deter damage from vehicles. Low maintenance, low water use desert vegetation should be the criteria. Trees in the landscape areas should be placed out toward the right-of-way and be allowed to grow over the street to make the street feel narrower in an attempt to slow traffic. Trees should be desert varieties. If pedestrian walks are necessary, then they should be away from the street, flat and level. no more than 4 foot wide, and be of a hard-packed gravel like decomposing granite. This type of walk has a rural feel, absorbs water, and does not reflect as much heat as concrete or asphalt. The overall goal is to emulate the irregular desert style of this historic neighborhood. And I think the final point is what I would like to emphasize, that was the major difference between the two proposals. The Estrella Inn was much softer and it had a more rural feel, whereas the city's proposal, interpreted by the Estrella Inn, was much more rigid. Thank you.
Very good, thank you very much. Anybody else who would like to address us, please come forward.
Frank Tyson. I attended the meeting at the Estrella Inn representing the small hotels. The meeting was held regarding the treatment of the property edge at the Estrella. And again, I'd like to compliment Doug and his department for involving the neighborhood in a positive fashion. And in fact, everybody left that meeting feeling very good and feeling that something had been accomplished. Though the small hotels in the tennis club area are essentially commercial, they're really very compatible, of course, with the single-family character of the neighborhood being small themselves, and it's to our interest to keep the old-time kind of rural feeling there. So we basically are in full support of what the homeowners have come up with, and I think that also the Estrella was very happy with that solution. And thank you very much again.
Thank you. Any additional speakers? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. Our public hearing items are noticed to begin at 2 o'clock, so we'll move down on the agenda to item number 5, architectural approval
Mr. Chairman?
application. Yes, sir.
I don't believe they're here yet.
Number 5.
Number 5, we're
All
not
right.
recognizing anybody here for
Would
Avenida Palo Verde.
Would you suggest that we move to number 6?
Mr. Chairman, you could go to number 6, or we're going to just act, we gave you a written staff report. We're just going to ask you to acknowledge you received it.
All right, well then let's just go to number 6. The application by Brad Corzine for review and approval of street improvements, plans pursuant to conditional use permit for incidental commercial uses located within a hotel containing less than 100 guest rooms at the Estrella Inn located at 415 South Ballardo.
Mr. Chairman, you have a written staff report. We just recommend that you receive and file it. We wanted to give you an update. We did receive revised plans today. We've not had a chance to review them. We want to spend some time with those plans because of the neighborhood concerns as well as the amount of effort the Estrella Inn put in. So there's no action required on that item. We can certainly answer any questions if the commission has any at this time.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the commission? Seeing none, we do acknowledge it and note that it's been filed, and we look for follow-up in due course. Next is item number 7, case 5.0827, the application by Lundin Development for a sign program for 10-acre shopping center at 425 Sunrise Way. Alex, is this yours?
I believe the director is going to handle this one today.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, we're probably going to have to do a little bit of a tag team on this one. I worked it through design review. I'm not as familiar with all the details as Alex might be on the actual construction of each sign. So what I'll do is go through and give you an overview of the signs and some of the materials I'm not as familiar with. So Alex may have to, when I point to some, he might have to give me a little update. And then we certainly have the design team here to answer any specific questions. But what I'd like to do is start around the perimeters. We have a motions agenda for you. This is a sign program for the project. There are some minor deviations from the strict interpretation of the sign code, and I'll point those out. Under the sign ordinance, the commission can adopt a sign program with deviations, provided you can make this finding We believe, and we think our staff report will show you, they're very minor deviations. The applicant may ask you for one additional one as part of their request, but based upon these conditions and the plans, we think the commission could make the findings. From the standpoint of the overall sign program, there would be a monument sign in this location on Ramon Road, a monument sign on this location on Sunrise Way by the driveway. This monument sign proposal, we had 3 proposals that we looked at design review. This one doesn't meet the ordinance, and we don't recommend that you consider it because of the tenant identification signs. It doesn't meet the intent of the ordinance. Design review looked at these 2 signs. They recommended approval of a modification of this one to basically delete the save on, continue the oval, and leave the center down below, and it would be very similar to this revision that was done. This is the applicant's preferred revision. They feel very strongly that they need the 2 anchor tenants identified on the sign, so they'd ask you to approve Ralph's as well as Save On, and then because it's supposed to be a center identification sign and not a tenant identification, it probably should have the word center on it. But design review recommended this shape without Save On with the center up, and this sign is just a little bit over 50 square feet. If you square off the perimeters, which the code says you're supposed to do, if you were to take off that little edge of that base, it would comply. We don't think that's a substantial deviation, and it really is a graphic and a scale issue. Going to the main anchor tenant, Ralph's. Again, they're located back in this location. The sign is calculated from Sunrise Way, and they get some credits for size of sign because of the distance. The main sign is located right in this location, and it shows up in this drawing to scale, and the sign complies with code. Design review recommended that these convenience signs be above this column, mounted up there like that, and that sign is recommended for approval pretty much as is. The second anchor tenant is Save On. They have 2 main signs because they have both street frontages. One main sign facing the Sunrise Way and parking lot located in this location on the building. And again, that's in this location on the building. So this sign here. And then they have one on the south elevation, which is located in this location at that point. They proposed an RX drive-through sign on their drive-through canopy. In this location, it was a fairly large sign. Design review did not recommend approval of that, nor does staff. And basically what they recommended is taking this sign and hanging it below the canopy in this area, very similar to and in the same shape and form as the signs that are shown in here for tenant spaces. Would not be that's mounted on the fascia. It would actually be a hanging sign. And what I'll do is I'll get another drawing up that'll show you how that is. Yeah, we'll show you a drawing that they revised. We just received. We haven't put it up. That shows how that works. Save On is a little bit oversized if you take the literal calculations of the code, where it basically says you take the outside dimensions all the way around, so you start from here and rectangle it off. If you were to just follow the size of the sign, you've got that little bit, and that little bit that's oversized. It's 52 square foot sign. If you calculate the actual sign, we feel that that's a reasonable request. If you do it on the outside, it's an 84 square foot sign. It's on a big building. We think it's in scale. From the standpoint of the next sign, let's take a look at the corner building, which is This sign, and this is where you're going to have to follow with us, and the applicant and their presentation is going to be able to explain some of this. Basically, it's a sign program that has options as to where the signs can go so that you don't limit everybody to one precise sign. In some cases, it would be a sign up on the building. In some cases, it would be on a fascia. There can be some convenience signs underneath the canopies. These are very small convenience signs for the tenants that are on this corridor. Again, the fascia, and then if the tenants want to do a kind of a alternate sign on the building, they could come in, and if they have this space, they could come in and put the sign on that wall. And they have alternates. You don't get both. So if you are in this tenant space, you either are here or here, and they would be based upon the square footage of the frontage of the building. So the sign code size would apply because we don't know how these spaces are going to actually divide up. It's a fairly creative sign program relative to how they're going to do it. What they'd like to do is you have an example of basically the sign face. It'll be a metal that will be installed with the, I think they're 3/4 inch holes drilled in it so that you can come in and mount any type of letter in there interchangeably without drilling the building and the fascia and creating a problem that I think we've been talking about. It allows for all the electric to be invisible. These are LED display. You know, the idea is hopefully to use LED in certain colors. But that type of sign program would fit here. And again, I think the key issue here is there's some flexibility as well as options for each individual tenant. The going backwards to Save-On, I told you that this wasn't recommended. It was recommended that it come in and basically be a canopy sign under canopy so that it fits right in that area and hangs. For the Starbucks located in this location would again have its own identity, and on the east elevation facing Sunrise Way would have the traditional Starbucks lettering. The size of the letters would be 12 inches, not 16, which is shown here. And then instead of having the drive-through and a little bug here, putting the drive-through sign in the same location in the same style as the RX, so that it really becomes more of a tenant sign as opposed to the Starbucks. For the west elevation facing the parking lot, this would either be a logo or letters. We really looked at that, and it's really up to their choice as to how they would like to do that without the drive-through. And then at the drive-through entry, they would have a little convenience sign showing people where the drive-through entry would be. Facing north, so if you're going southbound on Sunrise, instead of having the full letter sign for Starbucks, so you'd have letters turning the corner to letters, that would be a logo sign without the drive-through statement on it, just a logo sign, so the traditional Starbucks logo. And then the other tenant on this building would end up with, you know, the more traditional sign options. They don't have a tenant at this time for that building. The retail building along this area would again have the same type of sign program that we pointed out as the other multi-tenant, either on the column, underneath the overhang, or specialty sign areas for the end buildings where those would fit. The last sign that we have is Carl's Jr., and they're proposing a Carl's Jr. sign on the south elevation, and we recommend that this be centered in this location, so it's not right on the top of the roof edge, but right down in this area. And that would face south or Ramon Road on the west elevation to pick up and identify the traffic going eastbound, a sign in this location. and then to the parking lot, a sign in this location. And then for all the customer convenience signage, the little thank yous and drive-throughs and all of those, instead of pole signs, that they come in and do a little cabinet all the way to the ground, so that they have a little bit more mass to them all the way to the ground as a condition of approval. The sign style, these are all channel letters with the colors that you see for the main signs. And then for Carl's, I believe we didn't get a color diagram, but it would be their traditional color of yellow and red. And then they do have the little logo inset for green burrito that would go in there also. As you're learning, all the fast food chains want to be double flagged for that. And there's no concerns on the Carl's Jr. signs. So these are, all the main signs are the channel letters with Plex face, and then all of the other signs would be individual channel letters of different types of styles. And Design Review recommended that when we get into the lighted signs like that, that they get a number of colors that are available in LED and submit those. And there might be a range of colors that are permitted, so that we don't get too many different colors working on the property. I think I covered just about everything. I didn't tell you the materials here. Basically, this is a metal background painted gold, and the stone that's in the building, and the floor is a veneer slate that goes in the separation between the sign can element, and then these are the same types of letters that they have on the main building, and they'd be reverse or channel letters with Plex face. The applicant, again, I think is fairly comfortable, at least at our last discussion, with all the recommendations in your motions agenda, with the exception they would like the commission to allow this sign to have Save On underneath. Disregard this dimension. That's a typographical error. It's a sign that's 5 foot 9 inches, so it's got a pretty good scale, even for the roadways that it's on. So it's not going to be something that's going to overwhelm. Design Review felt that the light wasn't necessary in the urn, and the applicant probably needs to address if they want to take the urn off completely and just square it up at the top. But that's a change that I haven't had a chance to talk to them about. The Design Review preferred style of that monument sign is like that. So it wouldn't have the Save On. And again, this one's a little bit out of scale because it's a foot higher. But, Mr. Chairman, I think that covers everything that I know about the sign program, and Alex is going to cover the things I missed.
Two real quick points. The Ralph's sign, the main building sign, is proposed to be a halo or a backlit lettering. We feel that that's a superior type of signage in terms of ambiance and night lighting, legibility. We would also recommend that the Save On Drugs main signs, both of them facing Ramon and Sunrise, also be similar halo or backlit, just to provide for consistency in the sign program. We have talked to the sign program and project architect, and he concurs with staff's recommendation on that point.
Note says face and halo.
Doug, while you're at the board, I had a question. Retails, the site plan calls out retail space number 1. Is there a tenant for retail space number 1? And if not, what's the program with regard to that? That's the one right on the corner.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's this building complex here.
In other words, that's retail 1 and retail 2?
Yes. Yes, covers both sides. It's the same type of program.
And there's
All the way
no
around.
real monument then on the corner at all? It'll just, whatever's on that building for those particular tenants.
The corner monument needs to be a gateway entry per the Section 14 master plan.
So it'll,
So
it
it'll be
won't,
more artful than advertising.
and we don't know what that is at this point.
I think they're still working on the design of it.
Any other questions of staff before we invite the applicant to speak?
Just one quick
Yes,
one.
Mr. Caffrey?
On the main building, the ancillary use inside pharmacy, bakery, ATM, that normal little red lettering, is Union Bank gonna be okay with that, and not their corporate ID?
They proposed, and you're approving what you see up there.
Okay.
Yes, Ms. Conrad?
That's a totally separate pharmacy than Save-On Pharmacy. It's a pharmacy that's within the supermarket.
Yes.
And will there be additional things like bakery or anything else that goes up there, just those two ever? And I'd like to know if it's Face or just Halo for the three main signs. Is it Face and Halo or just Halo?
We'll have the applicant address that. when
That would
they
be
come up.
good.
I'd like to invite the applicant up to speak to this if you care to, and answer questions. And anybody else that might wish to speak on this project may come forward at this time, too.
My name is Lloyd Francis, and I'm the sign contractor for Ralph's, and I can explain that one situation here. The Ralph's main logo on the building, they're individual channel letters. However, the face is also lit with the back halo. It has the red kind of a glow and then the white halo around it. And that's their logo for that type of sign. Otherwise, if it was just mainly backlit, it would be black at night. You don't see the face or the red at all. And it would just be a black with a halo. That's why they do it that way. It isn't very bright, but it still gets the red color out. And that's what's called out on that print up there. Do you have any questions regarding the signs at all on for Ralph's?
Any questions of Mr. Francis? There may be some later.
All right, fine, thank you.
Yeah, Planning Commission members, my name is Greg Bieber. It's a real pleasure to be here. It's been a long time since I was before you before, and we've made a lot of progress. And I really do mean it's a pleasure to be here. We appreciate staff's hard work and design reviews input, and we're really happy with the sign package and the program that Mr. Chofe's put together along with our anchor tenants. The only thing that I wanted to comment on is our request that the two monument signs have representation for both Ralph's and Save-On, and that the center be named the Ralph Save-On Center. And we think that deserves some consideration from a couple of different standpoints. Number one, believe it or not, I think it's a little bit of a traffic safety issue. We have a lot of visitors to the city. We've got 6,500 hotel rooms. Ralph's and Save-On are known retailers throughout Southern California, a lot of areas where visitors come from. And when you take a look at the site plan, you'll note that Ralph's and Save-On are set back quite a ways from Sunrise. And Ralph's is set back quite a ways from Ramon Avenue. And as people drive by, without both tenants being identified on the monument signs, there'll be a tendency, I think, for people to try to take a look through the peekaboo view corridors to see exactly which tenants are in the center. And if we have both Ralph's and Save-On, our two anchor centers, on the monument signs, that'll eliminate that head movement, hopefully improve safety. It's something that people will want to know, who are the anchor tenants. I think historically, there's some precedence here that the center that has operated here since 1962 has always been known by the tenant, that's the anchor tenants that have occupied the center. It's always known as the Alpha Beta Center, then the Ralph Center, and matter of fact, I think some people have been calling it the Ralpha Beta Center. So we think it's appropriate and consistent with the history of this property for both anchor tenants, Save-On and Ralph's, to be on the monument sign. The third comment that I'd like to make is I just took a quick scan of the other comparable centers in town. Driving into the Albertson Center at Vista Chino, there's, in addition to World Gym on the monument sign, there's Albertson's Save-On. Taking a look at the Stater Brothers Center diagonally across the intersection, it's Stater Brothers Dairy Queen. Dairy Queen is not a particular anchor tenant, but at least there's two tenants on that monument sign. The Jensen Center is called the Jensen Center. There's a sign that says the Jensen Center, and then going down to Smoke Tree, I noted the monument sign on the corner says Ralph's Long's Drug Smoke Tree Village. So there's precedence, again, for identification of major tenants, and we'd request that you go along with the alternative that we've provided there. I think Mr. Choffi's come up with something that responds to design review's comments and still provides for both tenants, Ralph's, Save-On, on those two monument signs. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Beaver. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. As you know, without trying to sound too negative, our sign program here is very complicated. Just be a polite term for it. And we've worked really hard on this to get something that we think is in scale with our buildings, something that identifies our tenants, and frankly, something that looks good. And I have a philosophy about signs that they should try to weave a thread of continuity through a center and yet allow enough individuality that enables tenants to be identified. So we've come up with kind of a standard sign that would fit most of the smaller tenants and the infill tenants that you see here that my friend Mr. Howlett conceived, and it is a backlit LED plexiglass letter that's really we think very unique and very flexible for as tenants come and go and whatnot. I think that's really good. I don't need to repeat myself on the monument sign. We think we met the intent of the design review committee, and leave it at that. In regards to the two majors, we have a sign expert here with us who spoke earlier, and it's his wish, and I think after conferring with him, I think it's probably best that the two majors be backlit and facelit. I think they need to be a combination of both. I think the Save-On sign will suffer if it's not facelit along with being backlit. The backlit softens it enough that it doesn't just pop off the building in red, but the interior lit portion of it, and they use LEDs over underneath the red plex, does give them their readability in the evening. And again, the backlit kind of softens it. So I think those two should probably be that way. The Ralph's sign is kind of unique in that it will show the plaster in between the oval ring and the Ralph's. It's not a big hunk of plastic. It's a very elegant sign. It's expensive, and I think they did a nice job with that. Again, that's what we have to offer today. We think it's reasonable. Those majors are 410 feet back from Sunrise Way, so they need to get the benefit of some identification on the street. That was another reason. I don't know if Greg mentioned it.
Mr. Chairman, while Mr. Chaffee's there, can I just ask the number 4 there, it almost looks like it's just precision block, but Doug said it was going to be clad in slate. Is that slate used anywhere else?
That's the slate that's used on the Save-On and other places on the building, so it matches. Those are all the elements that are in the center, the metal and the sandstone.
Okay, and then does the design team have any objection to submitting the palette of colors for future signs to limit?
We brought them with us. We didn't bring actuals. Mr. Howlett was able to download some things off the internet this morning, and we have a palette that we'll work with staff with. Yes, we're comfortable with that.
Any other questions? Sure.
Yes.
Ms. Myers?
Mr. Chiaffi, the material used on the signs, the smaller signs for the smaller tenants will all be the same material, even though it'll just be different colors, the material will be the same, the backlit?
Yeah, they'll
It's
all
down
be
there.
like this. The colors may vary depending on what they want, but we're intending to make this almost a proprietary sign that we'll construct for them. Obviously, the metal is going to remain, and they'll plug in and out of that, but this is what we want to do.
Thank you.
At one point, we thought we would intersperse other kinds of signs, but after the meeting Monday, we thought we can let them change color and typeface, but we want the material to all be the same, so it'll be the backlit Plex.
Mr. Caffrey, you have a question?
Yes, Mr. Chaffee. If they change the name of the center to the Ralph Savon Center, would they be amenable to using the same font for Ralph's and Savon?
Probably not. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that would work.
Ms. Conrad?
Maybe I'll just ask
Why?
Doug or
Because then it doesn't look
Alex,
like two
Yeah.
signs.
since it'll just segue into that whole discussion, since the ordinance precludes having multiple tenants identified on monument signs, I would guess I'm asking, would this be allowable because those are anchor tenants? Or you want to comment? It's a fine.
I need to explain the sign ordinance a little bit. The sign ordinance allows for shopping centers, and I don't recall the acreage break, but I think it's
15, I think.
15 and up or thereabouts to have major anchor tenants identified. And that's why Stater Brothers, Albertsons, and Ralph's at Smoke Tree have some of the tenants identified. And, the commission made an exception at Stater Brothers for Dairy Queen until there's a larger tenant that might come up on that sign. So in this particular case, the shopping center is just not large enough to meet that ordinance criteria. The commission, under the findings that we gave you, if it was your pleasure, could make the finding, if you're comfortable with it, that you could have both anchor tenants identified, period. I'd suggest you make it real clear that nobody else can hang a bug or a detail or anything else on that monument, because somewhere down the road somebody's going to say, could I put a little 1 square foot Starbucks circle on the stone? It wouldn't be out of the ordinary for a neighborhood shopping center, and actually when we first looked at this neighborhood for a shopping center, it was originally zoned for a neighborhood shopping center. There just isn't the acreage, and at one point we actually made some findings for the Westman Shopping Center on the south that because of land availability, that project went in on the premise that if you added that land to this, it met the neighborhood shopping center standards. So if you wanted to have the save on, you could make it in those findings, and it's really commission pleasure. Design review thought it was crisper and cleaner, and staff's recommendation to design review was based purely on the code.
Any other questions to Mr. Chaffee?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Back to commissioners for their comments, questions? Schoenberger?
You have another speaker. Have we closed the public
Oh, I'm sorry.
hearing?
Sure, if there's any other speakers, please come forward.
Frank Tyson, I appreciate all the work that's gone into the center and the signage, and I was particularly excited when the gentleman from Ralph's mentioned I would read black at night, which, of course, we've now had done very successfully at the Jack in the Box on Palm Canyon, and of course have the support of the council on that because they voted on that. And I would like to see, because there's an awful lot of red in this center, but at night it would be nice if all of them read black. And I think identification-wise, as we can tell from the Jack in the Box, I think there's no problem. I also wonder what happened to if Carl's letters are spelled out, that they also would read black at night. It's been done very successfully in some of the centers in Palm Desert also, and I certainly would like us to be set apart from the average shopping center in Southern California. So I would really urge the commission to take a good look at this and see if we have most of the center read black and at night. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to speak?
Good afternoon. I'm Laura Pius with Ralph's Grocery Company, 1100 West Artesia Boulevard in Compton. We're currently right on schedule on our construction, and we're currently planning to open on July 30th. And the signage is really important. So if we can't get the signage, it would force a delay in our store opening. So I just wanted to beg you, please, can we get this approved today, at least the building signage, if not the whole package today. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
I'm Mike Reed with Save-On, out of the division, out of our Fullerton Division office. We're here to say that having a Save-On sign or some kind of presence in the community would be very important. It's our first freestanding Save-On in the community. We feel, as a recognition to our people, it'd be very helpful for us.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? All right, back to commission. Mr. Schoenberger.
Go ahead.
Doug, I can't remember at the design review meeting whether the lighting issue for the Ralph's and Save-On signs was discussed, and this idea of it reading black at night versus being front lit and back lit. Do you recall that being discussed, and does staff have a position on that?
That specific item was not discussed at design review. Design review recommended approval it, the way it's designed, and I would have read it that it was the way Mr. Chiaffi described it. The question really becomes one of visibility relative to the signs. If, the main signs for the buildings are backlit and they're as far away from the streets, they may be challenging to read. As you get up closer to the street, I think the halo probably works better graphically because you can then see the image and the outline. I'd be questioned whether or not Ralph's and Save-On, particularly from Sunrise Way, you'd be able to really identify on the Ramon Road frontage on Save-On. It would be a foreground sign up on the building, and I think you'd see the halo at night. But on the main signs facing Sunrise, where you're 400 and some feet away, I couldn't tell you if they would be adequately imaged with that type of sign condition.
Well, and excuse me. One of the differences with the Jack in the Box sign is that Jack in the Box is right next to the street. So it's a kind of a different situation. The other question I had was on the Ralph's and Save-On monument, whether to include them both on the monument signs we have the different sizes of these centers, and Smoke Tree, now that it's mentioned, I think it does say Ralph's and Long's on the monument sign. How much acreage differential do we know? For example, if we're talking about an acre or two, it seems like we're kind of splitting hairs, saying, well, it's okay at Smoke Tree because it's 15 acres, but not okay here because it's 12 acres. On the other hand, I think there is a reason for the differential if you have, to distinguish large shopping centers from small shopping centers. But I'm having a little problem here. This kind of seems to me like we have a shopping center that's in the middle. It's not really a small one. On the other hand, maybe it's not quite as big as Smoke Tree and Albertsons, and so we kind of got one here that doesn't fit either one particularly well.
The issue really comes down to the fact when we crafted the ordinance, this property had split zoning designations, commercial, residential, so we didn't pick it up as one. If we were to recraft the ordinance today, we would probably have dropped the size down to 10 acres.
Okay.
So I think, equity-wise, I think the commission has, good justification, as far as consistency in the community. For the two signs, certainly we've established that precedent. It was a size issue.
Well, and I do think the commission needs to be careful because of all the time we spent and have spent on this issue with other centers, and the fact that we have been pretty rigid in not allowing tenant identification on the signs for smaller centers. We made the one exception for Dairy Queen, but that's only for a limited period of time, presumably. But other than that, I can't think of any other exceptions that we've made, and we've told a lot of people no. But on this one, it seems like, in my mind, I kind of put this shopping center into the Smoke Tree Albertsons category rather than the the smaller centers where we're pretty tough on that.
Conrad?
I'll just weigh in, I guess. Either name is rather inelegant. Unfortunately, it would be nice if it had a better designation. I think it is quite a commercial corner, and that distinguishes it. And I understand the real desire on the part of the tenants to have the identification up there, and it bothers me less because of the particular site. I think aesthetically the single sign looks a lot better. And I wonder even if you could just delete the word center just to get rid of some of the clutter on the sign. It's a very tough call. I think this bothers me less than it would in other locations in the city. I wish you'd named it something else, but.
Yeah, I had a question, and I happened to be on Ramon today, and I was kind of impressed by the overall massing of the building close to Ramon, and that's where the southern Save-On Drugs sign would be. Is the Save-On sign the same dimensions that they're proposing, both on the east elevation and on the southern elevation?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be any difficulty seeing Save-On when you're on Ramon. I mean, that sign's going to be pretty overwhelming. I mean, and I understand the initial comment of the director that even though it may be, depending on how you evaluated the size of it, it fits the massing of the building. But that building is pretty close to Ramon. I think it was 80 or 90 feet, something right in that. Yeah. I don't think it's going to be overlooked. And I do understand the view if you're on Sunrise and that you're further back. But it is not that big a center, even though it is placed back from Sunrise. And looking at the identification on our agenda, it's described as a 10-acre site, so it's substantially less than 15, which is the minimum. And as Mr. Schoenberg pointed out, we really have been pretty consistent. In the Albertsons Center, frankly, I think that sign is a pretty ugly, big monument, but when we first addressed that issue, we were told that it was in compliance with the ordinance, and we were really, even though it was a planned development, we were pretty much, it was consistent with the parameters we set forth, and we felt compelled to allow it. I'm really reticent to allow that change here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I'm sorry. I kind of lost you. Are you talking about the monument sign, or are you talking about the sign, the Save-On sign on the wall?
Well, the Save-On sign on the wall on the south side is going to be clearly visible, and we're being told that the monument sign has a necessity to identify Save-On so that customers will recognize that there's a Save-On there, not just a Ralph's. Clearly on the Ramon side, I don't think they need that assistance.
Right.
Ms. Morantz?
I'm not sure that at this point we should make the decision that on one monument sign we have two names, and on the other monument sign, we only have one. I'm not sure that that would really work. I think I'd be comfortable with both, maybe as Ms. Conrad said, if we get rid of the word center. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with the word center. I think it's I could live with either way, but I personally do not have a problem with having both.
Well, the word center is there because that's really describing this for what it's supposed to be, an identification for the center, not just an advertising.
But we know it's a Save-On and a
retail.
Ralph's. I mean, it does not take a rocket scientist to drive by and not know what that is. I mean, they will know that it's not just a sign on the side of the road. I mean, it is a physical building with a Save-On and a Ralph's.
I think years ago, we were even more scrupulous about whether the sign faced the street or whether it was perpendicular to the street, and that sort of has gotten blurred out here. It's not supposed to be an advertisement for the tenants. It's supposed to be an identification for the development for the center.
I'm persuaded by the chairman's argument, actually.
Yes. I think that I would be okay with the face lighting on the Save-On on the building and not having the Save-On on the center sign. That would be, I think, a reasonable exchange, as long as the intensity of the face lighting was just to show the color and not a blaring or glaring intensity.
Say that again. I'm not sure I heard what you said.
Well, I want to make sure that if we allow them to have the face light on the Save-On on the building,
Okay.
so that it's not just black at night, especially from the sunrise side, that the red show through. I think that's important to see it from that far away, and also to identify that there is a Save-On there. That'll help immensely. However, I don't want a 1,000 lumen or 10,000 lumen sign up there saying Save-On, so that it glares into the night sky. That's just enough to show the color, I think. An LED probably does that, but I don't know how bright you can make those. So,
But I think what Mr. What John is saying though is he's looking at as a trade-off and not having longs on the monument. Do I understand?
Save-Ons, don't
Or
make that
Save-Ons on the
mistake.
monument? Is that what?
right, that's what I'm saying, yeah. I don't think they need the Save-On on there. I think people already tie the two together, and you normally see one next to the other, if not alongs. So, and I'd like to stick to the ordinance as far as the center name only.
What is this?
It's the Ralph Center.
Ralph's Center.
Okay.
Mr. Evans, do we need some clarification with regard to the intensity of the light? I don't know how to describe it as Mr. Caffrey's pointed it out in terms of evening.
I think that the sign team is here, and you could put a condition on that the sign lighting be adjusted so that the red read is soft, and there may be some ways to do it with how you actually back the letters. So, because they're going to need a fair amount of light to get the glow, to do what they want to do to soften the red from the back. And what they may need to do is do something to the back of the plex to make it so that the light won't push through as easy. I think we can work that out with the applicant. If it's a neon sign, we may be able to work with rheostats so that it can be adjusted on the big signs. I'm not sure the big signs are LED or neon. But I think we could work with the applicant on that. They've got a pretty creative sign team working on this.
Any other comments or motions?
Well, I'll go ahead and take the chance that the motion passes as stated with the adoption of the sign program, with the changes in the staff report, with the exception of the Save-On sign having the front lighting at a reasonable level.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I have a question now. That means you only want you only want Ralph's on the monument signs?
That's correct.
And adopt the format as suggested by design review.
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Caffrey, second by Ms. Conrad. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no.
No.
Motion carries 4-1.
Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I was going to make a comment under commission and staff reports. Could I go out of order because of somebody who I know is probably going to leave today?
Yes, not concerning this item then.
Not this item, but just one item. I'd just like to tell the planning commission that the project design team, Jim Chiaffi and Associates, received an AIA award, American Institute of Architecture Award, for the downtown parking structure. That award will be presented at a gala celebration in San Francisco, and Mr. Chiaffi and his wife is going to go to San Francisco to accept, and we'd like to thank him for making that a dynamite parking structure, and you ought to see the photograph that they've taken of it. It is really, really strong.
Very good. Congratulations to you, Mr. Chiaffi, and your team. We appreciate your help. All right, we're obviously past 2 o'clock. Let's go back to our public hearing items. First one, number 2, case 5.0948. Application by Ann Krisman for Planned Development District tentative tract map for development of 32-story residential units on 2.13 acres located at the northeast corner of Indian Avenue and Francis Drive. Go ahead, Alex.
The item before you is an application for both tentative tract map for a subdivision, for one parcel subdivision for condominium purposes, as well as a preliminary plan development district. The application anticipates 32-story units on 2.12 acres located on North Indian Canyon Drive at the intersections of Sunnyview, Indian Canyon, and Francis. Common area improvements include 2 identical swimming pool areas with spa. The site has a gradation of about 1 to 3 degrees, sloping from northwest to southeast. The intent of the PD here today is to provide for some flexibility and departures from certain zoning standards while allowing for good zoning practice. The zone is R2, which allows limited multiple family. In terms of the specific characteristics of the PD, the applicant is asking for relief from a couple of provisions from the zoning standards. In terms of setbacks, they're asking for 20-foot setbacks along the rear, which would be Sunnyview. By code, 25-foot setbacks would be required. In terms of the other setbacks, there's a 30-foot setback along Indian Canyon Drive, a major thoroughfare, which is in compliance with code, as well as a 20-foot side yard setback along Francis, which is a collector, which is also in compliance with code. In terms of the other deviation from standard, we have parking within the carports at 19.5 feet, whereas 20 foot would be required by ordinance. So it's essentially a 6-inch deviation from code. In terms of the surrounding and adjacent uses, we have the Sunnyview Villas to the north, single-family residential lots and houses to the east, the Parkwood Apartments to the south, and single-family residential and some vacant lands, as well as Indian Avenue, Indian Canyon Drive to the west. Surrounding zones are R2 to the north and south, and R1C to the east and west. General plan designation of the surrounding parcels includes, again, M15 to the north and south, which this project is consistent with, as well as L4, which is a low-density residential to the east and west. In terms of project design and circulation, there's a couple of unique characteristics that I wanted to walk you through. The project has a single spine driveway, 15 foot in width, which is permissible under code as long as there is one-way circulation on it. As designed, the driveway would be accessed from Sunnyview and exit onto Indian Canyon. This direction was determined through discussion with the city engineer. He did not want to have traffic slowing to make an entry movement on Indian Canyon Drive, so it was determined by the engineer that it would be best to have access from Sunnyview Drive. In terms of some other characteristics and issues that you need to be aware of, although this is a preliminary plan development district, there are some concerns that we have in terms of the vehicle movement and storage areas. For instance, the code requires 5 foot on the side of all vehicle movement areas, maneuvering areas, which is essentially driveways, and 2 foot in non-maneuvering vehicle areas, essentially the end of parking. We're going to work with the applicant on that, and we'll deal with those issues in final design, which you will see back ahead of you in a number of months. In terms of the overall density of the project, as an M15 general plan designation, the project could have 31.8 units, maximum permissible on site. As proposed at 30 units, they're at a general density of 14.08 dwelling units per acre, which is permissible under the general plan and zoning. In terms of phasing of the project, the applicant had thought about doing a 2-phase project, which included completion of the common areas of the subdivision, street improvements, recreation, driveway, landscape elements, and 10 units. Phase 2 would include the remaining 20 residential units. This project is kind of at the cusp of being a small and medium-sized project, so there are some financing issues, but our recommendation would be that it would be constructed in a single phase and have it all done at once. I know there are some financing issues that the applicant may want to discuss with you in regards to that. In terms of utilities, there's 2 sets of electrical lines bisecting the project, one on Indian Canyon, a second line on the southeast corner, 3 poles on site. As a condition of approval, the applicant is required to underground both of these sets. I've discussed the circulation with you. In terms of the building height, we have buildings proposed at 22 feet in height, clearly allowable under the code. And last issue that I'll discuss briefly out of the report is the issue of carports. We're concerned that as the project ages, that there could be a desire to enclose carports. We're recommending a provision in the CC&Rs that would, 1, prevent all storage or any sort of storage from occurring in those carport areas, and 2, that would in the future prohibit conversion of carports into garages. There is a benefit in having some uniformity, and things happen as projects age. Even though it is a 1-unit subdivision, I could foresee a time in the future where individual unit owners would want to enclose their carports. So we'd like to prohibit that at the outset. Based on the California Environmental Quality Act, this project does comply as an infill development. Therefore, it's exempt from further environmental review. When this report was written, we noted that we hadn't received any comment or questions from neighbors. We had one neighbor come in today and briefly review the projects. He was more concerned about the apartments to the north, and he was pleased to see that this was an ownership type of project, and he thought the architecture was interesting, and he understood that progress is progress, and he didn't want to submit any written comment, and I don't think he's in the audience today. With that, I will approach the boards and kind of walk you through a little bit of the project. Again, our site is accessed from Indian Canyon Drive. On this exhibit, we show Indian Canyon, Francis, and Sunnyview. We have apartments, existing single family, major thoroughfare here, and then some vacant and some residential development underway, single family zone, R1C. In terms of circulation on the site, again, we have the single point of entry here, and the egress here onto Indian Canyon. The city engineer was concerned about the access, and If this was the entry, there would have been an amount of slowing here that he found unacceptable. We have common area amenities here, and then some blocks that are repetitive here. In terms of the elevations, we have our east elevation, which is essentially the view from the residential units across Sunnyview. The community member that came in today would see this from his house. Carports and then two-story, kind of step back behind him. South elevation, this is the view that you would see from Francis Drive, the 3 blocks, and then the pool areas right in here and right in here. It's all flat, so there's no above-ground structures in the pool areas. In terms of the west elevation, this would be the view from Indian Canyon. This is the view towards the mountains, so you notice essentially walls of glass providing visual access to the mountains. And the north elevations, this is the view from the apartments to the north looking in at the project. In terms of the materials, I'll pass the material sample board. We have 3 coated plaster in iced silver, which is the white or the off-white, the retro avocado, which speaks for itself, and the precision Orco. And then the other portions of it would be some decorative block, which are in these areas, as well as this here. Clear aluminum glazing, storefront anodized window systems, which is the fenestration visible in kind of the grids in the windows. Single ply roof membrane, off-white color, galvanized metal, and primed and finished paint, which is in a color of spiced rum, which is this. These colors, the reds that you see here. I think the applicant's been sensitive in their use of color. They haven't picked anything too bright facing the residential units that are existing across Sunnyview. I'll pass this down the line. In terms of the concerns that we had about circulation, I'll point those out briefly. There was this issue, and the spacing and distance here is 6 foot, so this is going to be fine. We did have some concerns between the wall distance on the driveways here in terms of the distance from the paving to the walls, and also here. So it's a concern we have here as well as here. We're going to be able to work with the applicant on that. There's a number of solutions that we've had a chance to talk about. We haven't really finalized them yet. This does come back to you as part of the final PD, and we'll have those issues addressed. Essentially, you need a 5-foot space from the vehicle maneuvering area to structures and walls, and then 2-foot spaces here in the non-maneuvering areas, essentially parking areas. So we need some little additional spacing, and thought has to be paid to those areas. It occurs typically in the final engineering design. Applicant has had a chance to read the conditions. I don't believe there's any concerns that they have. This concludes staff's presentation. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Alex, where's the guest parking? Show me again
thank
where that is, please.
Yes, there are a number of guest spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's some extra ones here, 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 throughout the project.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Ms. Conrad?
What kind of shading is there gonna be on the west face for those glazed walls?
Okay, this is the west face. Those are, large, essentially walls of glass. They're talking about using an E-glass, and they're going to have to meet Title 24, but those are, direct exposure. That's the hot exposure. The trade-off is mountain views, and we'll let the applicant and architect talk about that.
Any other questions of staff before we open the public hearing?
Yes.
Mr. Schoenberger?
Go ahead, John.
Go ahead, John.
What did Mr. Barakian come up with as far as deterrence to that exit only, other than a sign that no one's going to care about?
There haven't been any details. There won't be gates. There's not an allowance, or there's not room for gates on this project. But besides signs, I don't think we want to go to spike strips. But it'll be a challenge. I mean, ultimately, at some point when a median is constructed in Indian, that will help people from turning left into it, but people can still turn right into it. So it's something that we have to work out with the applicant.
It's probably going to be discussed at a couple of homeowners association board meetings.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's, when we looked at it, it's an area of concern. It does comply with code. I think the issue is, we know how people are, and if they think they can duck in, technically.
Well, when you look at the alternative, absolutely. They have to drive all the way around the project to get to the very front unit. That's a no-brainer. So I guess it needs to be worked out.
Yeah, from our standpoint, it would be a signage issue and a homeowner's issue, unless it became a traffic control problem, where we had a real problem on Indian Canyon. We don't anticipate a problem on the other roadways or other roadway. But I suspect it's going to be primarily something the homeowners are going to have to work on together. But it is a confining or constraining element of this design.
They're not proposing that it's right turn only, are they? On Indian?
I don't believe that's in the recommendations.
And on the other side, on Sunny Lane, will you be able to exit on Sunny Lane? So you'll only have access and entry on Sunny Lane, and you'll only have an access on Indian.
That's correct. In this design, the site is pretty tight, so the applicant decided that they would use a 14-foot wide driveway with the understanding that the code provision allows one-way traffic only on 14-foot wide drive aisles.
Any other questions? Did I cut you off before, John? Schoenberger?
Go ahead, John.
I thought he was talking to me.
Go ahead. You finish up. Just that, well, a couple things. One, I just see that, I don't know how that's, I just have a question how that's going to work. You're going to have people coming in one direction on Indian, although they're not supposed to, they're going to do it, and you're going to have people coming the other way, and you've only got room for one car. So certainly this isn't an ideal solution, but I don't know about that. The other thing, Alex, I wanted to ask you, if you could help me read the site plan as to where there are walls and where there aren't walls and what the walls are like.
Would be my pleasure. In terms of the northern boundary, there is an existing block wall here. In terms of the other walls,
Alex, what's on either side?
we have the Sunnyview Villas, which are apartments. So we have an existing apartment on essentially the same size lot. In this area, we have wall here. So you come in here, you have the carport here, but this is open to the side. You have wall here of the building and structure, wall here. You also have walls here on the courtyard. That's that double line right here. Kind of turns back in here because there's a walkway here, rear access to the parking area. And that wall picks up again here, kind of does the same repeating pattern.
And then on the perimeter, I'm more interested in.
Round out here is a little courtyard, then it comes back in around the pool area, which is essentially an iron fence. Then it picks up again, block wall for their private patio right here. Then a building wall, and again the iron fence. Then it repeats the pattern of the courtyard wall.
And on the other side,
Let's see. Those walls are called out here on the west elevation. It moves back and forth a little bit here. Essentially it's this, comes back in, provides access, picks up again, returns to the building, little gate here, turns back here. There's a little bit of movement in the wall. And that's the west we were just looking at. So you see like a little gate right here and here and here.
And lastly, Alex, what comments, if any, did design review have, or were they pleased or not pleased?
Yeah, went through design review December 9th, and it was approved.
That was yours?
Design review seemed to like the design. They were excited by it.
Okay.
John?
I think with the, I'm still on the exit issue. And I don't see, unless engineering can come up with a way to access the project from Indian Canyon, I don't think there is any alternative but spike strips. I just don't see it.
We're going to be opening a public hearing. Unless there's further comments, we'll open the public hearing.
I'd rather wait until I
All right.
hear from the developer.
All right, this is a public hearing item. Anybody wishing to address the commission, now would be an appropriate time to please come forward. Give us your name, sign the clipboard before you leave.
Good afternoon. I'm Anna Escalante. I'm the architect for the project, representing O'Donnell Escalante Architects, and I can answer any questions you may have regarding the circulation. Let me just address that issue. We had a meeting with city engineer, and we talked about the constraints of the project, and one of them had to do with circulation. Essentially, what we had was the city engineer accepted the notion that by using signage and having the CCNRs and, in community meetings, there would be it will be clearly understood that the entry will be in Sunnyview, and the exit will be on Indian Avenue, and just by using signage and giving enough depth. As the conditions of approval, it came out, one of the conditions of approval was that they suggest that some of the walls, the garden walls, might be pulled back a little bit in order to allow people to read, when they're driving, that this is not an entry, this is an exit. There are some other issues that might be worth noting, that we had a meeting with the fire department, and the fire department had certain concerns regarding the access of, fire trucks and ambulances and so forth. And based on that regard, we had the two vertical, what you see vertical driveways. By the end of the pool, on the pool area, there is going to be a gate. So the circulation within the site is pretty straightforward for any emergency vehicle. For daily circulation, since there are only 30 units in the complex, the city engineer felt that it wouldn't cause any problem knowing what's the exit and what is the entry. And based on that recommendation, we proceeded to develop the site plan. Due to financial feasibility of the project, it is imperative that we have 30 units. If we were going to redesign the entry, probably we would need to either dramatically reduce the size of some of the units or really change the whole project, because we don't see any other way of really achieving what we're trying to achieve regarding, enforcing the urban fabric, developing the neighborhood, integrating the project into the community, and so on. We have some additional views that I think I gave Alex of how the project will be integrated in the community, and so forth. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Ms. Escalante.
Hi, I'm Ann Krisman, the applicant. I would just like to address the phasing, how I propose to do it and why. I had it in the two-phase process, and the main reason being financial reasons. I am the sole developer on this project. I don't want to have to bring any partners into it. Currently, the banks that I'm working with wanted to see it done in two phases, just to leverage phase one on loaning and maybe do some pre-selling, and then using that to build out phase two. My plan was to as we were to quickly build out those 10 units, set up a couple of model units in there, set up a sales, one of the sales units also, and then as that's being done, then to develop the other 20 units at the same time, we're still developing the surrounding area, focusing most of our attention on the 10 units to get that quickly done. And then, according to the bank, it would be a lot easier for me to finance the additional 20 units. And that was the reasoning behind that. So hopefully you'll understand that. That's it. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on this matter? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Back to commission for questions, comments. Mr. Caffrey.
Okay, I'm okay with the phasing. I mean, that makes sense to me. But circulation, this is a loop.
He's come back.
I'm trying to figure any way that this could have worked. And I guess now I have a concern with the fire department on what they would chime into on this with respect to tire poppers, whatever they're called, spike strips. Because it's not going to work. Everyone's going to turn in that Indian Avenue entrance that lives on that side of the complex. So that one's going to have to be worked out as far as I'm concerned, and I could make it an additional condition to move the project forward. That would be my contention.
Ms. Brantz?
Okay, I have some concerns when we're talking about circulation, and I looked under waste disposal services, and I don't see anything on these plans, and particularly, and if we're talking about areas where we don't have, there's not a lot of room, those trucks are pretty big, and they, I'm not sure how they're gonna move. And there wasn't any discussion about the undergrounding of the utilities and if this was something that was going to be deferred or if it was something that was gonna be done. And I have not heard any discussion about one of the requirements about the high-pressure sodium lights that had to be put on the streets that I read here as number 49. And basically, I didn't hear anything from the developer that all these other conditions were okay with her, and I just wanted to make sure that there was an understanding regarding the utilities, et cetera.
Alex, can you respond to that? Has the developer indicated her assent to these conditions?
In talking to the project applicant and design team, they've voiced no concerns on the conditions.
Ms. Conrad?
Maybe I just want to ask Anna, and I don't want to redesign your project, but and ask Alex, what would be the minimal setback that the buildings could have to the northern property line? Up here, on the other end of on the other side of the driveway. Because I wonder if you pulled the whole project up, if you could just enter from Francis and move the pools over and have two driveways and maybe solve the whole problem, or, I mean, I am in total concurrence with Mr. Caffrey. This doesn't work unless you put spike strips. It will create a huge problem on Indian Avenue. So it seems to me I would rather own a place that I didn't have to enter one side and exit the other if I could enter and exit on Francis or on, I mean, some other circulation seems like it would be much preferable. But barring that, and no other design, I'm sure Anna's been through whatever site plans, it seems to me we need spike strips.
Well, I have one other idea, just looking at it, and it was kind of brought on by Ms. Morant's statement about the garbage trucks. You know, what a dangerous situation to drive a big truck dead end into a street and then back out of there. If that's what they're planning, I can't imagine what they're planning, but the only other situation I could see that would solve all of it would be to not have the pool areas where they are and have those as entrances so that you can enter from
Scoot the
that
pool
street.
sideways or put one pool in the center and push
but-
the whole thing up.
Design review didn't have any of these concerns about circulation?
How close to the northern property line could you go with the building?
In terms of the setback, you would be able to have, essentially for this zone, it's 1-to-1 for buildings over 15 feet. So you'd have to be 22 feet from property line, because that's the height of the building. They wouldn't have very much room to move the building. They could essentially get it about 6 feet, get them about 6 feet farther north.
Even under a PD, there couldn't be any diminishment of that setback to accomplish a better entrance?
It does butt up to the parking area on the north side. It is similar, parking circulation area.
How close could the pools be if the pools were put on the north side?
The code requirement for pool surface is to actually, it's a UBC thing that the zoning follows, but it's a 5 foot from property line separation to water surface. So you can have 5 foot of deck to your pool. In terms of the design issues, I'd really want to bring the applicant back into it to kind of hear their thoughts.
Yeah, I also share this concern, and not only is the concern about not being able to enter off Indian, I have a problem with not being able to get out on Sunnyview. I can imagine people not wanting to go on Indian, especially if they want to go south. They don't want to come out of a driveway and have to cross Indian to make a left-hand turn. They'd rather come out on Francis, or they'd rather go to the east. They want to access another part of the city and not go on Indian. I find that restrictive, but perhaps could I invite the applicants or the architect up to comment on this, or other alternatives that might be available?
Wow, this is a can of worms, for the record. We visited all the possibilities regarding the site planning. We tried the pools in the north, and essentially that will render the swimming pools useless because it's a very windy area. And just basic solar design, you want to place your outdoor spaces on the south facing. We wanted to enrich the neighborhood. It is our experience that condominiums that have the driveways from the streets, it becomes just an alley. I mean, it's just like an alley in Santa Monica. There are some alleys in North, on Racket Club that are very unsightly. We had several meetings with the fire department, and our solution was workable, according to them. That's the feedback we got. If the Planning Commission wants us to change the scheme, I mean, if we flip everything, we can still have the same project. That's not a problem. It is our opinion that the outdoor spaces are not going to be as desirable, and that they will not enrich the overall urban landscape, because essentially we will have to provide gates, another gated community in Palm Springs, which doesn't do anything to enrich the city life, which is, I think, a lot of planners and architects are espousing. So we can do it. I mean, if we flip everything.
I, for one, am not suggesting that you put the pool on the north. I think the pool belongs on the south, absolutely, or on the west.
Can you show me where? I mean, we have.
Yeah, well, no, I don't want to. I would not presume, Anna, to show you where.
Oh, okay.
But I think that it's a huge circulation problem, and if you could enter on and off of Francis, it would be far superior. And I was suggesting either moving the pool sideways and let us give you some leniency in terms of setbacks about where the pool fits.
Yeah, it has to do with width of driveways. I mean, if that's the issue. If we didn't have that curve, I mean, the planter that is at the north, by the black wall, we could have. I mean, we're talking about a width. I mean, I'm with you that this was the least. I mean, the lesser of all evils. I mean, if we cut the entry from Indian and we got some relief on the driveway, in a sense that we don't need to have that 6 foot planter, that will give us 14 plus 6, it will be 20. We still need to come up with 4 feet to have 24 feet drive, two-way drives. We could do that.
Well,
but we need some relief.
I understand, so I think it needs to be restudied.
I hate to do this, but we do have we've already closed the public comments on this, and then this might be an appropriate time, just because of general time considerations, to take a brief recess, and people can reflect on it and come up and take a look at the site plan a little bit during the recess, and then we can reconvene and have further comments. Okay. So we'll take a 10-minute recess. All right, ladies and gentlemen, if we may reconvene, please. Before we recommence our discussion, Mr. Evans, can you shed some perspective on this hearing?
Mr. Chairman, I think probably the best option at this point would be a continuance. I think it's solvable. I got the reverb going today. It's because it's a retro project. One of the things I was looking at was basically if you take that module of that unit and that module of that unit and just look at the size, it comes somewhat close to fitting, and the yards may have to extend in different directions. By flipping that way would allow the drive to go through, the pool to come over, and a horseshoe.
Yes.
It may very well require a very tight turning movement that may require the use of portion of that landscape area for maneuvering for the fire trucks so that they can make the turn. And we probably have to go to wedged curbs, around there just to give the feel, and it's going to be tight. By the other item, we'd probably have to take this wing of buildings and move it that way a few feet, maybe 5 feet, go to a 20-foot setback for only that portion of the building so that we get more room in here. So you'd still end up with the pools on the street side and the south side, which I agree with the applicant. It's a better place for the pools. It would eliminate any connection on Indian and really be a horseshoe connection. You'd still have the bay parking over here. They need to make sure it fits. So it's not something that I think, unless they're changing their mind right now, that they can tell you it works. The other option would be to just take the pools up, basically do, long dead ends, which I think we're going to find is going to be a fire problem, as far as dead ends. So I think the solution is going to be to come in and do that. I think that if it could be done, and I think it may require that this unit be a little bit customized to fit, or, and I'm not sure how they might use one of their other units to fit in. I think they have two typicals. That would eliminate this issue, eliminate this drive, make some larger yards along the front or the north along here, and then we'd have maybe a pretty tight compromise turnaround through there with maybe not a lot of landscaping, but I think in the long run it might be an easier project for the people to live in.
Well, that's far more acceptable, I would think, as far as circulation goes, and then maybe they just need to also think about having trash enclosures on both ends of the property. So, the way I see it on the site plan up there, that's a long hoof for the guy in the middle southerly unit to get his trash all the way up there to that trash enclosure. So I could see his trash gathering in his carport a week at a time and then him wheelbarrowing it up there or something. It's just doesn't make sense for an everyday trip up there.
Is the applicant amenable to a continuance while they reconsider this, Mr. Evans? I'm seeing some nods. Perhaps you could just step forward and say yes.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. And I think that the commission would be comfortable with that as well, because I think you've gotten some of the flavor here. Although this is an area of concern, I think that there's a very strong positive feeling about your project. We're happy to see it in this location, and the architecture is creative, and the colors and the whole approach. I think it can be you call it an urban type of project, and I think it fits in nicely what we have up there. But circulation is a concern.
I think I would echo that you probably you must just stunned the architectural review with the architecture and the colors, and they didn't even look at the circulation. That's all I can figure.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
The other item I'd just like to let you know is I told the applicant during the break that if they did a site design study showing that it fits, that we would not ask them to redraw all the plans at the level of detail that they have. In 2 weeks, that would be a real challenge, but they do a quick site design study showing the perimeter setbacks, that they fit, the circulation, those dimensional items, so it's not a complete site redesign task in 2 weeks. They've put a lot of effort into every square inch of this site, and I think that would be sufficient, and then we'd renotice it for the council hearing with the revisions to the setbacks, and at that point, everybody would have full public notice that the commission made some adjustments in its recommendation. I think we've got a good opportunity to make one that you'd be more comfortable with, and I think the applicant would maybe be more comfortable with also.
Yeah, I'm sure the fellow commissioners would be happy to extend that courtesy in terms of redoing the plans on a more limited basis. Are there any further comments?
No.
Yes, Ms. Morantz?
If there aren't any further
Yeah, go ahead, make a
comments, I
motion.
move that we continue this, Doug, you said 2 weeks, for a 2-week time frame.
Second.
We have a motion for continuance by Ms. Moran, second by Mr. Caffrey. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Conrad? Aye. Ms. Morantz?
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberger?
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey?
Aye.
Mr. Klatchko?
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. And we look forward to seeing this project back again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't change the colors. I love them.
Yeah, we love it. Next item on the agenda is number 3, case 5.0950, application by Doris Vance, Golden Road Ministries for conditional use permit for church use located at 820 Research Drive. Staff report, please.
Mr. Chairman and respected members of the commission, I will This is a conditional use permit application specifically in regards to use for a church ministry in a multi-tenant warehouse complex. The complex is located at 820 Research Drive. We've actually visited this before for other conditional use permits. It's surrounded with an M1P zoning designation on the north and the west and the south. To the east is the airport. There's warehouses on the north. There's vacant land to the south. And on the west, there's also another warehouse with Time Warner. The applicant is proposing a satellite ministry. It's basically a ministry that's associated with a larger church in Pomona, and also Diamond Bar is the location where the applicant lives. So consequently, they don't need full-time church space. What they really are looking for is a warehousing component to be able to store new goods that they distribute via other nonprofits, so it's to the homeless. They don't ever go directly to, nor do they accept items directly at this site. This would just basically act as a warehousing area. They have an office in the front or that they would utilize at the max with approximately 3 staff members. It would be occupied on Saturdays and Mondays, and I think they're 10 to 5 were their hours that they have proposed for to be there. The same staff members would also work in the warehousing component section too. There's 2 other elements that I think are critical to this that allude to the church use that that staff has considered, and I would like you to consider. And that has to do with the ability to counsel. They have included that in their application. They would like the ability to have one family or an individual come and have a counseling service during those same days, same office hours. They also would like to have the ability to have a prayer meeting once a month on Saturday evenings. And they said the max of the attendees would be 20. So consequently, we've utilized their figures, what they've given us as their proposal, and utilize those as the conditions of approval to manage the parking, etc., on the site. I want to also address just briefly some concerns. The police department was contacted. Their concerns were that the homeless would get wind of this, perhaps, and end up frequenting the area or the adjacent neighborhood. And the applicant has consequently assured me that the way that they operate the distribution, etc., that no one should even know where they are. That wouldn't be the case. Things wouldn't be distributed directly out the front door. And secondly, was the increase in traffic. We at staff level have determined that a Saturday evening traffic is not of a maximum of 20 attendees is not a concern. Basically, building and fire, the building and fire departments have utilized conditions of approval for an assembly occupancy. So they're listed, you have those before you, and they're very strident. They want to definitely protect the assembly area. It's an unusual request. They're using a warehousing component for public assembly. So we have to make sure building wise that it's safe, and consequently those conditions of approval are included. And I think with that, I've had one public comment, a long distance phone call by a property owner adjacent to the DMV property, and he was just calling and wanting general information, and then expressed his support of the project. I believe the applicant has also received these conditions of approval that are before you and has agreed to those conditions. And with that, I conclude my staff report.
Thank you, Ms. Marks. Any questions of staff before we open the public hearing? Mr. Caffrey?
Yes, what was the comment from the council? I'm sorry? What was the comment from the council? Did you say a councilman had a comment? Oh, I'm sorry, okay, I misunderstood you.
All right, this is a matter for public hearing. Anybody wishing to address the commission, please come forward at this time. Give us your name and sign the clipboard before you leave.
Good afternoon. I'm Ingrid Badur, and I represent the owners of the building, Mr. Weezar and Mr. and Mrs. Janah. I also happen to be representing Doris Vance and the Golden Road Ministries, and we've been working on this since October, trying to make this work in this particular location. It describes us as being a church, and I would just state that that is not it's not a church like we all think of a church, where a bunch of people show up on Sunday morning or whatever day of the week and they have a service. This is not their intended use at all, and I think Kathy described it quite accurately, the time periods and what they're going to be doing. It will primarily be warehouse. And we did work extensively with the staff because the owners did not want to create a parking issue in future for future tenants, and going through the formula that has to be used for the amount of square footage, it was quite a large parking component for the maximum amount of people that would be allowed there. So I just want to state that there's been a lot of discussions with the owners and with the tenants, and everybody at this point is in agreement on when the usage would be for assembly, which would only be one time per month, not one time per week, but one time per month on a Saturday evening, which we felt would not be in conflict with any of our existing or future tenants because it is an industrial location. So I would ask, oh, and also the owner has not seen the final list of conditions of approval, but he was faxed the list that we had up to a few days ago and understands that he's going to have to put in lighted signs and safety bars and things for public assembly and is willing to do that. So that's really all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Badura. Anybody else like to speak on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the applicant, Doris Vance, and I just wanted to thank everyone for saying it so accurately that what they have said is exactly what we're doing. And thank you, Ingrid, for explaining that we're not basically church per se. We are a ministry outreach to the desert area.
Very good. Thank you, Ms. Vance. Are there any other speakers? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Back to commission. Yes.
Yeah, I have one question. Kathy, you might be able to answer this. Is the interior of that building right now sprinklerized?
Yes, but it's not dropped. Am I correct?
Ms. Badura, can you please come to the microphone? Thank you.
Because it says here, automatic fire sprinkler coverage will need to be extended below the dropped ceiling grid.
Yes, the building is sprinklered as it was designed with the latest technology, and the sprinklers are at warehouse ceiling height, and the intention of all the parties is not to put in a drop ceiling in the back. So the sprinklers will still be as they are right now.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Caffrey?
Soundproofing, as far as an amplified sound and singing, do those things come into play here?
That's a Saturday night, Caffrey.
They would have an issue, obviously, with their neighbors and their tenants if there was a problem like that. The city's noise ordinance does have provisions space to space relative to noise complaints, so I don't see that as a particular change unless they come back and amend their conditional use permit and really change their operation.
Normally, though, we do include conditions for amplified sound. Maybe the applicant could respond.
Typically, we haven't on churches unless they've got something outdoors.
Well, this isn't a typical church area.
Yeah,
though.
the noise ordinance would cover that.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Morantz.
Kathy, I was looking for the condition having to do with that one use a month in the evening and with the maximum of 20 people, and as well as the counseling on appointment basis only, and I didn't really find it in there. I saw number 7 under Planning Department where it says it's the hours stated consistent with the application, but the application is kind of silent on that issue or not very clear. Am I missing something, or would it be appropriate to have a little bit more specific limitations in the conditions?
Well, condition number 12 did indicate the proposed number of staff 3 and members 20, as stated in the conditional use permit. The applicant will adhere to such numbers, so that the number issue is addressed in a condition of approval.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant did supplement the application. You have the application, and then Ms. Marks wrote a letter asking for clarification, and then the founder director, Reverend Vance, responded and talks about those operational criteria. So that's,
So the record's adequate?
I think the record's clear.
Any further discussion? Motion? Ms. Brantz?
I'll move approval of case number 5.0950 CUP to allow the use of a church ministry with a warehouse storage facility in a multi-tenant industrial building in a planned research and development park zone M1P.
Is there a second? All right. Motion by Ms. Moran, second by Ms. Conrad. Any further discussion?
Well, just, I'm not, I'm not sure we have this really clear. I'm looking at the response of the applicant
What's the CUP for, though?
to the questions posed in staff's letter of April 11. It says, once a month, Saturday group prayer meeting will be held. And that's fine, that's what we all are talking about. But I'm not sure, and then we have condition number 12, which says the applicant shall adhere to the proposed numbers of staff 3 and members 20.
I think I can address, number 8 does allude to the time of the assembly hours, stated on the conditional, the applicant should be required to maintain the assembly hours as stated on this conditional use permit application. If church activities expand, the church and the property owner shall negotiate a reciprocal parking agreement. Are you questioning that the specific hours aren't alluded to in the application?
No, I think that, I guess, no, my concern is with the number of people who attend the prayer meeting. And to me, it's not clear. We're saying that we are issuing this permit with the idea that there will be 20 attendees at the prayer meeting on Saturday, once a month. That's the idea. So I think number 12 should read, the applicant shall adhere to the proposed numbers of staff 3 and attendees at prayer meetings 20.
Okay.
Where it says members in condition 12, we don't know what members means. When we're using the number 20, I think we're talking about attendees at the prayer meeting. So
Okay.
let's say it, and then everybody knows that that's what it is. Because the only concern I have here is if these prayer meetings become more often, or they become more people, and then all of a sudden the thing isn't working the way it should, or the way we're approving it.
And I'd like to echo that concern as well, because in the study session, I don't recall this. I mean, what I recall was that it was a church warehouse, and that there wasn't going to be prayer meetings, and that there wasn't going to be counseling, which I don't know that I'm opposed to, but in the way that it's written, but it certainly looks like there's a lot of room for growth here, and certainly wouldn't want to, I don't want to open the door for churches in our industrial areas.
Okay.
It's not the appropriate venue.
We tried to address in the conditions of approval and keep a tight rein on that without coming back and having a review of that. So I think the hours have been addressed, and says without, shall require prior approval by the planning commission if hours change whatsoever. And the assembly numbers, I said, we didn't talk about the numbers changing and needing prior planning commission approval for a number change, but we did say it would require a reciprocal parking agreement and review by the Director of Planning and Zoning.
Ms. Morantz and Ms. Conrad, would you be amenable to allowing staff to clarify these conditions and instead of talking about members, talking about attendees?
Well, that's
and any other minor change that staff deems appropriate to convey the concerns of the members of the commission?
Yes, I had already changed the word members to attendees. I think that pretty much clarifies it a little bit, but certainly I'd be amenable to amending my
Are we
motion.
going to leave the open end to more people and expanded parking with I don't know that.
You want it to come back here?
I think that should come back. It's a change in the CUP.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, I think that we need to leave this CUP the way it is with the 20 attendees, because that is my motion
Well, I'm comfortable
for
with
approval.
the concern expressed by the representative of the owner of the property. I think the other tenants have concerns, and they'll be monitoring this as well.
Okay.
And it does have a 2-year review, so.
Mr. Chairman, if the commission wants, we could take the second sentence out of number 8, and then we could add attendees to number 12.
That would satisfy me. I mean, the only
Yes.
concern I have here is I envision this as once a month, a small number of people. This isn't going to be like a service where people are singing and it's a prayer meeting where 20 people are getting around and do some praying.
Well, it's hard to control the spirit, John.
Well, but I share Mr. Caffrey's concern. I don't want a full-blown church deal going on in the industrial area, because I don't think it's appropriate either. This limited use, I think, is okay. The neighbors seem to think it's okay as long as it stays limited and doesn't get, beyond that.
Although we did approve the sale of alcohol in the industrial area too, right next door.
Yeah,
so,
right next door, and that one kind of troubled me a little bit too, but.
Just as limited, I might.
Okay,
Just
just
as
as
limited.
limited, yes, okay.
It's
Okay,
distribution only.
Unless
just for the
there's
record.
any further serious discussion,
for the
may we have a roll call vote, please, Michelle?
Ms. Conrad. Ms. Morantz.
Aye.
Mr. Schoenberger.
Aye.
Mr. Caffrey.
Aye.
Mr. Klatchko.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, and we welcome you to the neighborhood. All right, let's go back to the item that we skipped earlier, number 5, case 3.2290, application by Carol Tillichet for architectural approval of a wooden trellis landscaped element over the driveway at 860 Avenida Palo Verde. And I apologize if I mispronounce your name.
I wanted to actually start with a little bit of a background on this, just real brief. This came before our department as a minor architectural approval. We had discussion at staff level and chose to take it before design review. Whoops. And the reason being because it's of the size and the material that was being proposed. It was proposed as a hemlock trellis that would be pressure treated with CCA. So we went to design review, and they approved the trellis structure, but they wanted the material to be ornamental iron and support columns that would be approximately 30 by 30, say a square-shaped support column. When we went back and spoke with the applicant, they came up with other proposals. So we would like to bring them forward to the Planning Commission to get their determination or your determination. I wanted to first point out this is the residence. It's basically what you see from the street facade is in the entire street on both sides is basically walled with large hedges. So it's very, very private, and most every resident there has a gated entry. This is one of the few, if not the only one, without a gate. It is a three-car garage, so it's a significant width. Their intent was to soften this driveway approach of all the cement and just a very modern kind of plain garage facade with a landscape element. They did, I think what we've come back with, and I have the landscape architect here that is representing the applicant that can perhaps shed some light on the detail. One of the concerns was that these plants weren't going to cover this wooden trellis for a long time. So you're going to have basically a truss-looking trellis system out here for several years until the plants actually covered it's a truss. It's provided and been structurally engineered by a truss company that they were proposing. So the applicant has come back with a stuccoed concept and also a latticed concept to cover that truss element. I'm going to basically not say too much more in regards to this. Does comply with the zone as an accessory structure if it's back 15 feet and it's under the 10-foot height limit, etc. So,
Kathy, has the design review seen these alternative plans?
no, these were just presented to me this morning.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Procedurally, just so I can explain why you're looking at something in a single-family residential neighborhood that's on flat land, this would not normally, this property would not normally be subject to architectural approval. The ordinance does allow entry features and gates subject to architectural approval, and we do average of probably 3 or 4 a month at staff level. And it's usually entry gates for pedestrian or something, and they've got some columns that are a little high. And the code gives us a fair amount of flexibility, and it's really helping us recreate the old neighborhood look in Palm Springs. For a long time, we couldn't do that. And the look in the Las Palmas movie colony, where you have that real strong edge and entry statement out at the curbs, we're limited to 4.5 foot high. You can trip over gates, and it really wasn't that same feel that I think, and I think the commission, when you approved the change, felt really signifies the look of Palm Springs. The only reason this one went up to design review was because we were concerned about the exposed wood truss and the time it would take to cover it, and whether or not it would be covered all the time, and that's an internal structure. We did say if it could go to a metal type structure, that we'd be comfortable, and that's what design review said. If it's a plastered structure, I think staff would be comfortable with it, provided they get the base and the things, and we can work with the designer on that. If it's, I'd caution you to be concerned about just the redwood lattice, because that will weather. It'll look wonderful when it first goes up, and then it's going to turn gray, and it probably isn't going to be as durable exposed to the elements. So that's the reason it's here. And again, had we seen the plastered element before design review, we probably would have already approved that.
Can you clarify exactly what the applicant has placed before us? Are there 2 alternatives, or is there just this
There's three alternatives. The applicant's first proposal was the exposed truss member. That was not comfortable with staff nor design review. So they gave you 2 alternatives. The upper one is the redwood lattice over the truss structure frame. I'm sure that's how they were going to build it. And then the lower one is basically probably a wood frame structure plastered. Now, with the weight of the plaster, they're going to have some challenges when they get into structural engineering. And they may not be able to do it with the weight of plaster in that span. But that's something, they've got a truss company working on it. They have to prove it up. And that's what truss companies do every day.
All right. Well, I'd like to invite the applicant or applicant's representative forward, and maybe you can shed some light on the application.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Tom Dosey, landscape architect. We were first approached by Mr. Talashe in the beginning stages of the design to assist with some landscape elements that would actually come up and create this arbor type effect. We've developed a planting plan with some varieties of vines that we feel over a period of time would begin to cover the structure itself. Upon hearing the comments from design review, I understood their concerns regarding having the open wood structure exposed, because it would take a number of years for the vines to actually cover the structure. Our concern was if it went to a metal structure, that it really was more of a contemporary look than what fits within that neighborhood, and we would also have a difficult time having this plant material be able to adhere under the elements of the heat and so forth of the metal structure. So we discussed with Mr. Talashe 2 different options. One would be to cover the internal structure with like a redwood trellis type material that you would find at a home improvement store. And then the second would be actually, another alternative would be to stucco the structure itself and paint it out to match the house. So those are the two alternatives we're presenting before you today.
Thank you, Mr. Dosey.
Thank you.
Commissioners, comments?
Just a question. Do I understand that this structure is flat up against the garage and frames it, or it sticks out from, I couldn't tell from your presentation where this structure goes on the driveway, how it relates to the garage.
Okay, this is the location of the trellis. This is the garage. This is the location of the trellis. So here's the site plan. So it's out. And if you wanted to look at it in a pictorial way, you could see it would be, it's going to be actually inset from the wall a little bit. It won't mimic the wall, and it'll actually be inset slightly there. Okay. This is the edge of the wall here on the site plan. So,
Ms. Conrad?
Mr. Chairman, I move approval of case 3.2290 for a stucco finish to match the house in color and texture. So, I guess concept B, wooden, I guess it's not wooden, it could be, the underneath of it's going to be wooden, right? And then stucco element of the driveway at 860 Avenida Palo Verde.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ms. Conrad, second by Ms. Morantz. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. And it's Talashe. Thank you. All right, we're down to agenda item number 8, miscellaneous case 5.0598, appointment of 2 planning commission members to serve on a subcommittee for ongoing review of the Tockwitz Creek Golf Resort, Course Hotel, and Timeshare Project.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I think that these 2 empty seats should be the chosen 2.
I think that's a wonderful suggestion. Is there any further
So
discussion?
moved.
So moved. Seconded by acclamation, Mr. Matthews and Mr. Granch. Number 9, for determination that A, the development of and construction of Palm Springs Skate Park located at Sunrise Park, and B, the expansion of the Palm Springs Convention Center located at 277 Avenida Caballeros are consistent with the city's general plan, and planning commissioners' findings are consistent with government code. Mr. Evans, I think we need to treat these 2 separately. With regard to Part B, I think we have conflicts, and our 4 members that are required, 2 of them are not here. But we certainly can address Part A, if that would be staff's suggestion.
Yes, sir. Good catch, Mr. Chairman.
Can we just make a motion on the skateboard park and not the convention center? Is that
Right.
correct?
Yes.
Would you like to
They're-
make that
They're
motion?
separate resolutions.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Morantz, second by Mr. Schoenberger. And I think we're all familiar, because this was mentioned at our study session, as to exactly what the ramifications are. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimously, and the other item will come up at some future date,
Sometime.
undoubtedly. Next, we have for number 10, commission work programs. Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. An appointment went really fast. We thought we'd have a lot of discussion on that.
Don't be asked.
Well, Mark plays golf. I'm not sure what Jerry does, so they'll appreciate it.
Yeah, at this point, under the general plan for the steering committee, as the commission may recall, it's going to be a committee of approximately 20, 21, or 22 people, somewhere in there, of individuals that would participate for up to a couple of years as, our sounding board and policy advisory group on the general plan. The way that program was presented to the commission, we needed 2 commission member volunteers. And that's the only action on the general plan. and the work program today.
Are you looking for us to make an appointment for volunteers today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Paul volunteer.
Now, I think somebody with some longevity on the commission would be appropriate.
Oh, darn.
Do we have any idea?
Well, what's that going to involve?
That's what I'm trying to ask.
The involvement we would anticipate is it's going to be intermittent. You know, we're not
Okay.
going to set up a series of meetings and have you meet, once a month for 2 years. We're going to
Good.
probably front load the meeting with maybe 2 or 3 meetings fairly quick. Then, and fairly quick, maybe in a 6-week period, maybe every 2 weeks. To get input and direction. Then we'll prepare a work program, hire the consultants, and then we'll get into another series of meetings in the middle that may be monthly for 4 to 6 months. And then as we start to finalize recommendations, it may require a more aggressive meeting schedule to try to pull it together. It's going to be a lot of work. And that's why we're asking for a committee of about 20, recognizing that, one, we won't get everybody there. But this is where really, I think the majority of the general plan issues are going to get hammered out, is typically at the steering committee level. The commission then deals with disagreements, and then the council deals with what you can't resolve, is typically how general plan processes go. Once we define the work program, I can tell you a little bit better about how the committee will work and how often they will meet. But we're not going to meet just for the sake of a meeting.
Mr. Chairman, could I suggest that maybe we all, out of deference to our 2 absent members who also have some longevity on the Planning Commission, that maybe we defer this for 2 weeks and let everybody think about it and then do it? Otherwise, I
Yeah, I don't
fear
think
that the appointments might go the same way as the last.
And can I also suggest that in our next packet, we include just maybe a separate sheet of paper reminding all the commissioners, and particularly the 2 that were absent today, that the 5 that will be continuing on after June really think about this and maybe point out some of the parameters.
Doug, what you might do, does it matter if we appoint the 2 people to the golf course project this time or next time? Because you might,
No, they're already there.
They're there.
Well, what I'm saying is, though, one of them might want to be on the one and not the other. So we've got 5 people to fill 4 posts. And maybe if we tell them they've already got the golf course subcommittee, then they might say, well, then I don't want to do the general plan one too.
Yeah.
So if we just if we do all 4 at the same time, we may be able to parcel them out in a way that everybody's happier with.
I think we need the committee on the golf course before your next meeting.
Do you?
And I don't think that that's going to be near the time burden as this one. And John, just keep in mind, you did really well with the task force, and now you've got a lot of free time on your hand, that you may be a good candidate for this spot here. But yeah, we can pick that up in 2 weeks. Any further under commission work programs, Mr. Evans?
No, sir. We're bringing Section 14 master plan forward to you, and I think Larry's got that scheduled for the 28th of May, so we're going to have to
2 weeks.
coordinate some schedules, but I'd have to double check.
Right, and we'll make sure that the appropriate members are notified as to who has to be here and that they're there, and we won't rely on our memories, which are weak at best. All right, number 11, City Council Actions Update.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The City Council this evening will have an update on the budget. And basically, the finance director, the city manager have been trying to come up with a way to deal with the budget deficit. And tonight they'll give the council an update on that. Also, the budget task force chair will give the council an update on that task force that's been meeting on Monday and Friday mornings. since a day or two after tax day, since there are a few CPAs on that committee. And also tonight, the council will discuss the Quimby Act and a possible ordinance. The Quimby Act is a parkland and dedication ordinance that requires either dedication of parkland when you build projects that are residential or the payment of a fee in lieu of dedication. And it's really a funding mechanism to try and build parks. We're taking a look at, the amount of residential growth that we have, what's left, and how to implement the general plan. And obviously with the state, county, and local municipal financing the way it is right now, we feel we probably have to move into that. What that typically results in is primarily a developer fee, and we're crunching numbers to see what the state law would allow us to consider. And a number of cities in the Coachella Valley have this type of ordinance and either require the dedication or the payment of fee. And we'll have to coordinate very carefully with the Building Industry Association. They're the watchdog group on this type of fee. And we've already let them know that we're looking at it. It's allowable by state law. It's in our general plan as an option to look at for implementing the Parks and Recreation Plan. So we'll give the council an update on Quimby Act this evening. And we're working on, what the fee might be, but we don't have numbers yet on that. We're still calculating the land cost, the park improvement cost, and then we also can put in park upgrades into this. And the other thing is we have to take a look at is what can the market bear. You just can't load a fee on and say, well, that's what we think we can justify. You have to then artfully take a look at how it fits in the community. The other item on tonight's council meeting is the council, I believe, is going to approve the construction contract for the skate park. We gave you an update on that. We've taken a look at the wall and the fencing, carefully, and we're going to do some minor changes to the wall on the east property line, put some pilasters in, and make an end statement on those walls. But the council will likely go forward with that. We've been waiting for the contractor all day to give us the cost, and it looks like it may come in budget this time instead of $1 million over. So I know the skaters in the community are they're not sure we're actually going to build it, but it looks like the council may go forward with that this evening. Those are the council updates, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Commission staff reports and requests. Number 12, Ms. Morantz.
Doug, I have a question about this memorandum that we received regarding the downtown parking management program. I assume that this is something that already happened and it's over, or?
The group had their first meeting.
Okay. Because I am a little unhappy about some of the parking situations downtown, which I expressed to you recently, and I have no problem with having restaurants have valet parking out in front and then maybe use spaces inside the parking structure to park those vehicles, but I'm really having a problem with entering into the public parking structure and finding that a good percentage of it at night is valet parking only, and they stop you and you either have to go up or down or whatever, and either that or use a different entrance, and I'm a little bit uncomfortable with that.
Okay. One of the things that the group has been looking at is how to better manage that parking facility. It's got some management issues that need to be worked out, and that was one of the issues that came up. So I think the downtown merchants that attended this meeting are they're very optimistic that the good news is they feel we still have a real good economy downtown. It may have slipped a little bit in the last 6 months to a year, but it's still pretty strong. And actually, the first meeting was quite energetic, and it was neat to see people all starting to go in the same direction. And the challenge is going to be in the long run of how do we manage our city parking lots, and whether or not it's a pay-for-parking program, which then gets turnover in a prescribed manner, and it allows somebody to come downtown for 5 or 6 hours and not have to move their car around, because most people, once they hit their car, they leave. And so I thought we had a good meeting, and valet parking was discussed.
Okay, thank you.
Anything further? Ms. Caffrey?
Yes, Doug. About a week and a half ago, I got more than one phone call when the wind picked up and the mountains disappeared in the canyon south from the golf course development. Needed some water.
Okay. Encourage everybody, if you get those calls, you need to call the building department. When we have a Tockwitz twister, the winds that swirl from the south, I don't think anything would fix it. If it's a gentle breeze under 25 mile an hour and things are moving, then it's a problem.
I didn't get to see it. I wasn't there. I just got the phone call, so I don't know how bad it was, but they were saying they couldn't even see the mountains, which are about 300 yards away, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, I think we had an exceptional event that, under the way the AQMD rules apply, if they had water being applied or a truck going and they couldn't control it, they would have met the criteria. The reality is you could have been trying to drown the property probably during that period, and it still would probably lift
I
it.
would agree.
Yeah.
Most would,
Yeah.
but I'm sure that everybody's that was concerned with it is watching to make sure I mentioned it.
And I will talk to the building department and our PM10 dirt czar and remind them that they probably need to take a look at that one.
Thank you.
Anything further from commissioners? We do have the April 30th commission meeting minutes we'll have to bring up at another appropriate time. I just wanted to comment, I saw we also got a memorandum from the executive director of the airports. Apparently, for the last presentation, we got his attention, and I'm viewing this as that they're very sensitive to our feelings, and they'll try to answer all our questions in the future.
Yes.
In a very positive way. Mr. Oh, you read it differently? You read it differently. Gee, I don't know. Yes, Mr. Evans.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm just going to keep on a regular basis, talk to you about, our customer service and workload situation. We have one position vacant. It's frozen. I can tell you we've redistributed the workload, and it's not working very well. We're having trouble answering the phones. We're having trouble dealing with our customers that walk in and still be able to get the production work that's the majority of the work that you see. It's not uncommon for us to have, a pretty good waiting line of people, not only on the phone, but also at the counter. And it's starting to wear on the staff to not be able to provide the customer service that they like. And I can tell you that the staff members have taken a look at the Development Task Force report, and they're very concerned that they can't, as individuals, meet the expectations with that shift in workload. And I've informed the council, and I'll continue to do that and keep talking to the city manager. But there's going to be a disconnect. The task force raised expectations at the same time we cut staff, and I can tell you the same thing is happening in engineering and building. The development process requires all three of those departments to work at about the same level and speed, and if one can't keep up, the others can't make up for it. So we're going to be challenged for a while. I'm just being upfront with you that almost every day I have to counsel staff on how to deal with more than that they feel they can do, and the majority of the staff is working overtime many days of the week. If some of them every day of the week. Some of them working weekends too.
I think I can speak on behalf of the commission. We certainly appreciate the work that you and your staff do, and we don't notice the diminution in quality, but I know that's because your staff is working very hard. At the last council cabinet meeting, which was in April, I pointed out that our customers, meaning the members of the community, would be suffering, and you can continue to convey our concern on that issue, and that's a budgetary issue that is beyond our control. Any other comments? Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.